Hey, what's going on, guys? My name's Griffin and I'm a filmmaker based out of Orange County, California. And today we're gonna be taking a look at the APUTURE 300D Mark II. So I've used the APUTURE 300D Mark II on more than 25 real world projects. And let me just tell you, this light has been an absolute game changer for me. And I hate to use like super YouTube-y clickbait words like game changer, but it's just the truth of the matter that it actually has been a game changer in the way I've been able to light scenes. So what's been really cool is this light really packs a punch, and for the price, I don't think you can really beat it. So that's kind of the short version summary. So in this review, we'll be covering some of the things I like about the APUTURE 300D Mark II, some of the things I don't like, and whether or not it's right for you. So just to let you know up front, this won't be like a super highly technical review. We're not gonna be measuring like CRI or output, but if you are into that kind of video, I'll put a link down in the description for a video by Curtis Judd, because he did an outstanding review on it and he measured a lot of those things. So if you're interested in seeing more behind the scenes breakdowns, lighting setups, or reviews of all the different APUTURE modifiers, maybe consider hitting that subscribe button, because I have videos on all those exact things coming up. Okay, so jumping into the first thing I like about the APUTURE 300D Mark II is the cost. For the cost, you're really not gonna find a light that has the same build quality and output. I mean, this thing is really built solid, and the price for, I think you can get them for about 1,100 bucks now. It's really pretty affordable for most sort of indie filmmakers. Second thing I like about the light is it's really high output. You can light against bright sunny day windows, whereas I have two of the APUTURE 120Ds, and I always felt those were lacking a little bit. If I had to light a subject's face against a bright kind of like midday sun window, I felt like I was always like cranking for more output. With the 300D Mark II, I never really find myself shooting all the way at 100%. I feel like I'm typically in like the 70 to 80%, and you can get a really punchy look without having to crank the light all the way to 100. And with the 120Ds, I always kind of felt myself like wishing I had a little bit more output. Third thing I really like about this light is the build quality. APUTURE's really stepped the game up from the 120D Mark Is. I've got two of those lights, and like they're good, like they're not bad, like, but they're definitely, it feels like a light for the price. Whereas when I got the 300D Mark II, I remember the first thing I thought was like, whoa, this feels like a rental light. Like it's got kind of like a heft to it. It's like really solid. And I mean, everything about the light just feels like it's not gonna break and it's gonna last a lot longer. Another cool thing about APUTURE is when you get the light, they give you a case for it. Typically the cases are not something that I would be excited about, but the case that comes with the 300D Mark II, I mean, like I feel like I would probably pay like 80 bucks for that case. Like it's really solid. I mean, you could sit on it, even if like I'm a pretty big heavy guy, so like I could use it like as an Apple box or even stand on it, and it's not gonna break. But I don't typically use it for my specific use. Like I have a Pelican that I actually use that has my whole interview kit. So like tripod, light stands, boom pole, the modifiers, it all fits in there. But if you are someone that doesn't have that setup, the case that it comes with is really solid, and you won't have to necessarily go and buy a secondary case. So another great thing about the 300D Mark II is it's kind of designed where it can be set up, if you have it with one of the APUTURE modifiers, just on a single light stand or C stand. So why does that matter? Well, if you're kind of like a solo one-man band operator or a small crew, like you've only got 2 or 3 people on the crew, it's really nice that if you're moving the light around or you're doing multiple setups in a single day, it's really easy to just kind of pick up one light stand and move it. Whereas if you had like maybe like a 1x1 panel and you're shooting it through like a 4x4, it's typically going to be 2 stands. And so especially if you're like traveling or you're small crew, it just makes everything more simple if it could just be on like a single light stand or C stand. Okay, so another cool thing about APUTURE lights, specifically the 300D Mark II, is what I'm reviewing. But with this light, I actually had an issue when I first got it with a cable, and I reached out via the Facebook group. They've got this really cool Facebook community. So I reached out, and the support like saw it right away. They like responded. Whereas I can't think of any other company, like if I reach out to say like Canon or something like that, and I even pay for CPS, and it's like, oh, okay, you got a call, you're like wait on a line, and it's like, you know, you're kind of getting kicked around before they could help you. I've never in my life seen a company like APUTURE have a community where you can just go, you read a Facebook post and they're like, hey Griffin, look, we emailed you, and also we're gonna send you a replacement cable. Like we're gonna get that deal dealt with right away. And I was like, right away when I saw that happen, I was like, okay, like this is a company that I can get behind, and I want to continue to buy more products from Aputure just for that specific reason. And last main thing I like about the Aputure 300D Mark II is when you get this light, you're buying into a family of modifiers that you can really take this light and make it do whatever you want. I've used this light on a lot of different productions. I've used it as like a really soft source key light typically with the Light Dome 2. I've used it as a hair light with the Light Dome Mini, or with one of the Fresnel mounts on it. I've used it with the Aputure lantern, along with a lot of other Aputure lights. And we're actually gonna have a breakdown on this specific set with my buddy Kevin. So maybe stick around, and if you're interested in seeing that breakdown, we used about 7 different Aputure lights. So that one's gonna be coming up pretty soon. But we used it in all different circumstances, whereas I've never found a light that can be more versatile and easily modified, just like the Aputure lights, because the way they design it with the Bowens mount. And even if you have like modifiers that aren't even Aputure, like I've had some, I had some photo strobes before and they were Bowens mount, and I was able to use some of my old modifiers that I had from back in taking photos. I was able to use those on my Aputure lights, which is pretty cool. It's kind of universal. Okay, so no product is perfect, and the Aputure 300D Mark II certainly isn't either. Some of the things I don't like about it are it's not bicolor and it's not RGB. Like a lot of the lights you see coming out now, they are, and it's definitely one extra step since it's the light, it's daylight only. And you can't adjust it for the specific situation that you're going in as easily. One of the cool things I will say though is I picked up this, I think it's from Leaf Filters. It's called the Master Location Pack. Now what this is it's a bunch of filters that are colored filters, and then it's also got a lot of filters to take it from daylight all the way to tungsten, and it's also got plus and minus green. So pretty much no matter which circumstance you go into, you can throw a filter into the filter holder and the modifier, and you can adjust your light to match that circumstance. So when I was filming on this specific set, this gym, the lights were super blue, so I had to, and they were also a little bit green. So I just combined 2 filters to get it right there, and then I was ready to go, and the light matched perfect. And I've used it in a variety of other situations too. So this definitely always stays with me in my lighting Pelican, and it's really kind of negated the fact that it's not an RGB light. Okay, so the second thing that's not perfect is the lights just somehow always seem to be out of stock. And I think that's probably because like Aputure is like a victim of their own success. Like they made a really nice light at an affordable price, and they're having a hard time keeping it in stock. So it's kind of understandable, but I definitely would like to see that inventory improve somehow. Like, you know, I mean, I understand for like the first month or two when a product comes out, especially if it's a hot product, it'll be out of stock, but you would kind of expect from like a full company that like, you know, you would be able to go on and purchase the light when you want to purchase it. We actually installed one of the lights in the company that I work with in our boxing studio. And I remember I had to like wait like an extra month just to get this light, but like I felt it was worth it to wait because I really wanted the 300D in there, but it was a little bit frustrating that like you couldn't just order it right away when we were ready. Okay, so last section, is this the right light for you and your production? Chances are, if you're watching this video, you're probably already in the market for a 300D Mark II. I would say absolutely couldn't recommend it more. This has been one of the only products that I would recommend that strongly, and just say like a blanket statement like, yes, it's right for you. To be a little bit more specific, if you're doing projects that have a budget of anywhere from like 1,000 to say 15,000, it's a great light for you. When you go on sort of like bigger sets, like 15,000 plus, like I've been on some bigger sets, all the way up to like $100,000 sets, and they're not going to be using Aputure lights. It's not necessarily like the rental standard. That being said, you don't necessarily need to own the rental standard, and you probably don't even want to own the rental standards because the lights they're using typically cost $5,000 or more. And that's for like a small owner operator like myself or someone else that is in a similar circumstance to me. It's probably not the right light for you to go out and buy, like a $5,000 light that's going to be probably outdated in a couple of years. You'd have to be renting it out a lot for it to make sense for that kind of purchase. And you can just know when you go into a bigger set like of that type of budget, there's definitely going to be a budget for rentals, so you can always rent the bigger lights. But for me and the type of shoots that I do, they're typically in that 1,000 to 10,000 range. And, you know, it's the perfect light for me because I can own it myself. doesn't break the bank, and it'll pretty much get the job done 99 out of 100 times. So that's it for me today, guys. Hopefully you enjoyed this video and this little review on the APUTURE 300D Mark II. If you like this kind of video, maybe consider hitting that subscribe button, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Take care.